I'm starting to sharpen this knife, and I figured I'd take you along for part of the process. Now, when I make these knives, I leave about a dime's thickness on the edge before I do the heat treat. That way the edge doesn't warp and you don't have any problems with the edge when doing the heat treat. I have to do a finishing grind after the heat treat anyway, and on that finishing grind, I'll take the edge down almost to zero, right about to zero, which makes it very easy to sharpen on diamond stones. So I've already done the coarse stone on this, and all I'm using today, I'm at my office on lunch break, so I figured it'd be a good time to sharpen it. I'm just using one of these little Smith stones. I keep this at work, and this is great for touching up blades. This has two sides. It's got a coarse side. I think these are roughly 300 grit on the coarse side, and then it has a fine side, and I'm pretty sure this is 720. The exact grit doesn't matter, but you have a coarse and a fine, and this fine is good. It leaves a nice toothy edge on the knife. It's a good place to stop. So with just one of these stones, I think they're about $25. You can still find these on Amazon. This one is pretty old. You can see the plastic is distorted from leaving it in the car on a few occasions in the summertime. But I think the new ones are yellow, and they're pretty cheap, and they make a pretty high quality stone. I've had this one for probably 10 years, and it's still going strong. So this is all you need. If you don't have anything good to sharpen with, you can get into it really cheap with this, and then after this, go to a ceramic rod and you'll be done. So let's start on the fine side. Let's give it a check. I have a fresh piece of paper here, and like I said, I just did a few passes on the coarse stone. So that looks pretty good, and that's just with the coarse stone. So let's go to the fine and do a little bit of work on it. I'm going to lay this down on the desk, and that's going to give me a flat surface to keep that flat. And then I find my angle that I like. Now, I just know the angle that I like the knife to cut at, and that's the angle I use on the stones. What is this angle actually? It's probably about 13 degrees per side. I like a very low edge angle. Knives cut better with a low edge angle. So I'm going to find that angle and just start making a few passes. I'm not applying much pressure at all. I think that was 10 passes. And then I'll switch over and come to the other side. The whole key to freehand sharpening is remembering your angles. Okay, let's go again. I'm not feeling a burr. Again, I'm not applying much pressure. Now with the coarse stone, I would feel a burr down the whole side of, down one whole side of the blade. And then flipping over to the other side and just using the weight of the knife, making 3 to 5 passes, and the burr is gone. It doesn't reappear on the other side. So that's all it takes to clean the burr off. It's very simple. If steels are run soft, that's a whole nother matter. That burr can just pass back and forth from side to side and can be very stubborn. Okay, let me just a hint of a burr, not much. Okay, now to make sure we have no burr, I'm just going to set the knife on here, and I'm not using any pressure at all. And we'll do that same thing on the other side. I'm not feeling any burr. That should be pretty sharp. Okay, here I have some Spyderco ceramics. This is a little ceramic stone. It's got a white side and a gray side. Let's make a few passes on this. Again, very light pressure. Okay, let's do a few on the white side. Five more. Now you can go crazy on these things, and you can strap them up to death, and you can put a mirror finish on them. But for an edge that you're going to use out in the field, I like a really toothy edge. I don't like it smoothed out, and it's much easier to maintain if you're not worried about a polish. Yeah, that's pretty good right there. I want to take this piece of wood, and let me find a good spot. Right here's a good spot right here. I think you'll be able to see. I'm going to lay that knife down flat. I have a corner here on the piece of wood, and I'm going to move the knife back and forth, and I'm going to pick it up right there. It's biting. You see that's carving a sliver? You can see it's carving a sliver. And you can see how low that edge angle is, how low I'm holding that blade. Most blades, the way they're sharpened, you have to be up here before they start cutting. Let me flip it around and do the other side. Let's just verify that everything is the same. Okay, we're right here. Lay the knife down. I'm going to pick the knife up and move it. And you can see it's cutting. See how low? We're about the same spot we were on the other side. Now, if you're trying to slice or make feathers, you're trying to go down the wood, if you have to raise the knife up too far, what you're doing is most of your force is pushing down into the wood. Your force isn't slicing. So you need a low edge angle so when you put force on it, it bites in and pulls up big slivers of wood. You want efficient cutting. And then you can also control it. You have to learn exactly how you rock that edge. You can get anything from little tiny shavings like this to angle up a little, I don't want to slip and bust, but you can take massive chunks off. So anything from these little tiny curls, take these small shavings all the way up to these big chunks, just on how you hold the knife. But that's what the key is a low edge angle. Your knife will be much more efficient. It'll be much easier to make cuts. But if you're going to have a low edge angle, you need a steel and a heat treat that'll hold up to it. So that's just a little bit about my philosophy on the type of edge I like and how to sharpen a knife. I prefer steels that will take a good toothy edge. I don't like steels that glass out or become real smooth and slippery. I like to have that bite. You need some aggression in the edge. If you don't have aggression in the edge, it's not an efficient slicer. Sharp, technically a polished blade is going to be sharper than what this is, but they'll actually slide over a lot of materials without digging in. You can take a sharp polished knife and have it slide over a tomato, and if you have to put downward force, you'll crush the thing. You can also take that same knife and you can try and cut a piece of rope, and it'll slide right off the piece of rope without cutting it, especially a nylon rope. A natural rope is going to be a little bit more likely to cut. Now, one thing that a polished edge is good for is push cuts. So if you're just going to take a piece of rope and push straight through it, it'll cut it. But it won't stay sharp enough to do that for very long. Once you lose that hair popping sharpness off the edge and you're down to a working edge, it will no longer do that, and then you really just slide off every time. Where if you have a toothy edge, the working edge still has aggression to it, and it's almost like micro serration. So when you slide over the material, it bites in and still cuts. So it's a better edge, it gets more work done, it lasts longer, and it's easier to maintain. You don't have to worry about, oh, do I have to do this because I'm going to scratch my knife? No, you just use a diamond stone. You use that 600 to 720 grit, and then you do a ceramic after that, and you're done. That's all you have to do. Very simple to maintain. You can take this in the field or a little dog bone ceramic sharpener, and then that's all you need to maintain your edge. And if you want more, something like this will work. Another advantage of something like this, if you have a really big knife, now that can be a real pain to try and work over a stone. I'll take the knife and lay the knife so that the blade's sticking off the edge of the table, and I'll take my stone and I'll work my stone over the knife. So it's easier to move the stone over the tool than it is to move the tool over the stone. So once you get into larger knives, these are really good. These are the best sharpener for larger knives. So that's going to be it for this one. I hope you've picked up maybe just a couple pointers and a little bit about what I think about knife sharpening. We'll see you on the next one.